The story about the Afghan data leak has dominated the press this week, but actually, I'm going to explain to you very, very quickly why the whole story is a complete lie and a deliberate ruse by the government and the Ministry of Defence to bring people to the United Kingdom when there is no issue whatsoever with them. If you strap yourself in just for a couple of minutes, I'm going to tell you something that's going to leave you absolutely shocked and something that you will hear absolutely nowhere else. Hello everyone, this is Andre Walker. Thanks so much for watching this video. Please do subscribe, but more importantly, hit the bell notification icon. It's the best way to absolutely guarantee you get all of my videos as soon as they are released. Well, let's give you the official story for a second. Okay, so the data breach happened in February 2022 when an unnamed source at the Ministry of Defence thought he was emailing 150 names, but actually emailed 30,000 names. Now, because those people have wives and children, that means 100,000 people's data was put at risk. We've heard all that. We now need to evacuate 100,000 people. We need to do it secretly. Yes, heard all that. We need to give them a house, their children education, we need to give them healthcare for free, we need to give them benefits for the rest of their life, and we need to give them £250,000 in compensation each. Heard all that. Here's the bit the media are not reporting. They discovered the data breach 18 months later because a total of 6 names were mentioned on a Facebook account. What? The only thing that has ever fallen into the public domain is 6 names. And those 6 names, the person that published them, we went round to his house and he said he would remove the 6 names from the internet if we gave him asylum in the United Kingdom along with his wife and children. So we're being blackmailed by these people. Here is the next fact that you won't read in the media. The Taliban don't have the list. And even if they did have the list, they've said that they would not use it. And why have they said that they would not use it? Very, very simple. Because it's just a list of civil servants. It's almost like saying there's a change in government in the United Kingdom and suddenly everyone at the Department for Transport needs to evacuate to France. It's just absolutely balmy. And so the next point, which is extremely important, is that these Afghan interpreters are now in the United Kingdom. People in the Afghan army are in the United Kingdom. So now what has happened next is this. Get this. There was the Afghan resettlement scheme operating in private, in secret. There was a super injunction on it. Just to explain what a super injunction is, an injunction means you can't talk about a particular topic. A super injunction means you can't even talk about the fact that there is an injunction on what was cited, amongst other things, to the court about why there needed to be this level of secrecy. There needed to be this level of secrecy because there were concerns that the British public would have civil unrest if they found out about it. So the actual reason cited by the British government in court for not telling Britain and making it illegal to tell Britain about this Afghan resettlement plan was because if we found out, we would be so outraged that we would start smashing things up and take to the streets. I don't think that would actually happen. But nonetheless, what a ludicrous argument that is. Let me give you an alternative view of the facts. See how this lies with you. The MOD and the British government has been obsessed with bringing Afghans to the United Kingdom, most of whom have really done nothing to benefit the United Kingdom at all, apart from having been civil servants in their own government. The cowardice of the Afghan army was absolutely remarkable, but those people have largely been evacuated anyway. So now it's a question of whether civil servants and their families should come over. I think that you don't want them here. British government thinks that you don't want them here either, and so do the courts. So what we do is we email out some of the details, yes, and then we make sure that that qualifies people to come to the UK, because this is just a festival of immigration lawyers once again demanding rights, and it stretches even further because it's only been a few weeks since the case of the Gazan, who said that her right to family life under the UN Convention on Human Rights, integrated into UK law by Tony Blair, her right was being undermined because she didn't live in the same country as her daughter. And so she was allowed to move from Gaza to the United Kingdom on that basis. Now what's happened is this. If this data had fallen into the hands of the Taliban, and if they had acted on it, then they would have potentially killed people. And that was, they didn't, by the way, and they're saying they're not going to, but they could have. That would breach the human rights of the Afghans in Afghanistan, right to family life. The British courts are now going to, the British courts and the British government are now going to enforce European Human Rights Act in Kabul in favour of Britain. That is to say that those people in Kabul, those people in Afghanistan who successfully argue that their human rights have been breached by a data breach in the United Kingdom can claim to come to Britain even though they've never been here before, have no connection with the United Kingdom, have no family in the United Kingdom, have no friends in the United Kingdom. That is what is taking place here. And then you ask yourself about this data breach. Okay, so 6 names were published, whoopee-doo. 18 months after the breach. Doesn't that tell you that in reality, the Taliban are telling the truth when they say they're not going to act on it? How on earth can it be sensible to spend £7 billion to bring 100,000 people to the United Kingdom because 6 names have been published on Facebook? And even them have been withdrawn by the guy who did it, and he has now blackmailed his way into the United Kingdom. I think that this stinks to high heaven. The story is simply not true, and I'm not one for conspiracy theories, but all I've told you is the simple facts of the case. I don't think there's any prospect of the data being leaked again. I don't think there's any prospect of it being published. I don't think there was ever any prospect of it being published if you were going to act on it. If you were the Taliban, then you've done it 18 months ago. Now, if you don't believe me, let me tell you what the British government has said. The British government has said now, after all these years, 3 years, we now know that the Taliban have moved on and not going to do anything. So, okay, so here's a data leak that nobody read, that nobody published, and that nobody acted on. And the reason that we've gone public about it now is because we now accept that nobody will ever act on it. And that is a justification to spend £7 billion of your money. Here's the reality of it. These people are addicted to uncontrolled immigration. They absolutely love it. I don't know why. I don't know why they look round and think uncontrolled immigration is marvellous, but they do. Look at the one in, one out scheme for small boats. If we send back one single person from a small boat at Dover, then what we have to do is take another person from Paris and fly them into the United Kingdom at the taxpayer's expense. Nobody would agree to a deal like that unless they absolutely loved uncontrolled immigration. And so what happens next? Very, very simple. Same rules will be used again, won't it? Now, it is a fact established by the courts, accepted by government, that anybody who ever works with the United Kingdom, who is in any threat whatsoever anywhere in the world, now has a right to move to the United Kingdom. Anyone. So what happens, say, if the Pakistani government falls? Are the entirety of the Pakistani army entitled to come to the United Kingdom? Yeah, one would say they probably would. What about, say, Ukraine? Imagine the situation where Russia overruns Ukraine. Is every single Ukrainian, all 40 or 50 million, I might be wrong on that figure, are they all entitled to come to the United Kingdom? Under this, one would say yes. But the dastardly bit is the point that I made earlier. The fact now that you can sue the British government for breaching your human rights when you've never come to Britain. And you will get the protection of the United Kingdom government in the form of flying to the United Kingdom, a council house in Britain, education for you, education for your children, if necessary, probably not education for you, healthcare for all of you. These benefits run into millions and millions, 7 or 8,000 million pounds spent on one email that nobody read. That is what is happening in this country. And I will tell you the other thing. These cocky lawyers are making an absolute fortune from running amok here because they're saying, oh, our clients are very scared. Are they? Why are they scared? Because we now say openly that we're never going to publish, that nobody is ever going to publish these. And if you believe, well, okay, what am I going to say like that? No, okay. I don't believe that this was an accident. I believe that this reeks of a conspiracy. It reeks of a conspiracy to ensure that everybody who wants to come to the United Kingdom gets in. And I'll tell you why. Nobody has been sacked from the MOD for doing it. Can you imagine going into wherever you work? Can you imagine going into your job at Pizza Express or your job at a bank or your job at in an plumber's firm or wherever and say, oh, I'm really sorry, one email's just cost you £7 billion and go, hey, we've still got confidence in you, never worry about it. That is evidence of the fact that we are doing it deliberately. This is an absolute disgrace. Anyway, I want to thank you for watching this video. Please make sure you subscribe. People, make sure you hit the bell notification icon. I'm here in talk. Also, yes, I did dye my hair back to the colour that I had when I was 18. Apologies if that has shocked you, but I was sick of looking old. There comes a time in every man's life when you have to start faking it, and I believe that I've made it to that point. Until next time, arrivederci and goodbye.